This is fascinating. And one company I understand is a chip maker, Anji, perhaps you pronounce it, up 520%.
On the star market today, yeah.
I mean,
crazy.
Wow. This is obviously, I think, an exchange that we need to watch and we need to learn a little bit. If I were an investor, I'd be very cautious about getting in. I want to understand what's going on there. These are bubblicious gains.
In these markets,
My goodness.
And you can't.
No.
And that's the whole point of it, is you can't. And the Chinese stock markets work a lot differently, right? The big knock against them is that they operate like casinos. They have done this before. It wasn't that long ago. I remember I was in China covering the Chinex, which was their Nasdaq style exchange. Guess what happened? Stocks went gangbusters. Total speculation, operated like a casino, and it never went anywhere. So what's different about this
But
time?
why are they doing it again? I mean, they just went through this whole thing about settling people down about it, and now it's like, oh, we're going to go through and try to recreate this Nasdaq type thing. You don't have to go through the typical registration process. You can just apply a little bit more quickly. No surprise. But I should also mention, for the first 5 days, they said trading could be unfettered. Then a 20% cap goes in on volatility. And in order to access the market, you have to be a Chinese trader with 2 years of experience and at least $103,000 in your trading account.
So not cautious. Apparently.
Deirdre, is this to make sure that they don't lose Chinese IPOs to the United States, give another option?
That's the idea. You've seen, Alibaba and some of the big Chinese names list in the U.S., JD.com, Sina, Baidu. So they're trying to attract those listings. I think key, which could make it different than their previous attempts, and there's been 2 others, is if they get a Tencent or Alibaba to list. I think they're still a long way off that. But Alibaba's looking at Hong Kong, not mainland China.
And also, that was a way for Western investors to get in on those companies.
Yes.
But as I understand it, it's not like American investors are going to be flocking because they can't yet to this exchange.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And the Chinese average investor, there's a lot of mom and pop investors out there. They don't have access to the same financial instruments as we do in the U.S. So the financial systems are still being developed and evolving. So that's why you see so much speculation in what they can do.
Well, we'll see if this thing sticks around or if it just ends up being another failed experiment. But we'll move on to talk some Stitch Fix, shall we? Which is getting a nice upgrade to buy from Hold at Stifel today, saying keep rates in the men's business have improved every quarter since the category was launched. Now, this comes on the heels of Lululemon signing a deal with former Eagles QB Nick Foles, which is an interesting choice, by the way, but anyway, to become its first men's ambassador. And Saks Fifth Avenue plans to open an 8,000 square foot men's luxury shoe department at the Fifth Avenue flagship, saying that market has been neglected.
It makes sense, right? Because women have long been the target of fashion, retail, of all verticals, whether it's a consumable product or a discretionary item. So you get really big numbers there, and it's hard to grow more. And then you look at the men, and ever since the rise of the idea of the metrosexual, I think men have been a little bit more interested in being more fashionable. I mean, you've got skincare is up like 7% for men over the last year.
They're going to Lululemon to buy pants.
It's
the ABCs. Is that what pioneered it, Courtney?
It really is. I mean, the ABC Lululemon pant, the anti-ball crushing pant is what that stands for, have been a real hit. I think there were some men that were reluctant to go to Lululemon, but once they try some of those items, you can't get them to turn back.
I predict more divorces because we're already fighting in my house over closet space. And as men become bigger consumers of more shoes, and how many dress shirts does one man need is my question.
I was watching a lot of HGTV last week while we were home. And I can't tell you how many times it would be the woman uses the closet in the bedroom and the men's stuff is relegated to the guest room, to the downstairs, to the wherever. Yeah. You're right. This is going to be a major problem.
It is. It is. I mean, Euromonitor said, or they predicted between the year 2017 and 2022, so we're already part of this, that basically men's retail lines will outgrow and outpace that of women. And I think a lot of these companies look at it as an opportunity. You've got Coach, which is part of Tapestry, says, look, we're on a path to $1 billion for our men's business, too. Wow. Apparel, footwear, that's the big one, small leather goods. And then you mentioned Saks. They say, look, the men's shoes are sort of, in a way, a gateway drug to a lot of men for luxury. So when they buy, like, a really fancy pair of shoes, then they are opening up the idea to a designer T-shirt.
I was going to say, if he asks for it, just say, forget it. All right. Meantime, CBS has gone dark for roughly 6.5 million AT&T customers since early Saturday morning. The blackout covers DirecTV, streaming service DirecTV Now, and AT&T's Uverse. CBS and AT&T had been negotiating over pricing and streaming rights for several weeks, but couldn't agree on a new contract. But this is fascinating as a test of who's got more bargaining power right now with the consumer.
I just think what you're going to find is we're in for more of this as the networks try to make up for lost fees from these cable subscribers. The cable subscribers are trying to lower what they pay because they have fewer subscribers. Everybody is trying to adapt to a new reality where people can get exactly what they want by paying for a standalone service. But here's the fallout. You know, Brandy Glanville, the Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, she's got 802,000 Twitter followers. She's an influencer. And what was she tweeting about last night? Not girl fights or Lux brands. She was tweeting about not getting CBS on DirecTV and threatening them, if you don't work it out, I'm going to quit my DirecTV. They're going to encounter that from more and more.
So she's taking it out on her provider.
That's right. And then her followers were bringing up, in fact, one of them said, CBS is gluttonous. They're just looking for more and more money. When what do they offer us? They don't need that. Or you can pay for their standalone service. Who needs it? And take it out on CBS instead of DirecTV.
And it all goes round, right? Does it create an opening for Netflix, which, licenses a lot of the shows, its biggest moneymakers, from the networks, and it all comes kind of full circle, and you just see the landscape changing so much. You have to wonder, where does it end up?
I agree. And also because they have options available on streaming, is that a blessing and a curse for the content companies? Because if there are other ways to access them, does it feel as urgent that they get back on your
And look, CBS
TV
was
set?
late to the party in terms of having a cable channel the way that NBC and ABC did. And so they're trying to make up for it by being an early adopter of the streaming services and things like that. Will it pay off? I guess wait and see.
And we'll see who blinks. That'll tell us most about this one. Real quickly, it's the battle of the Apple analysts. Morgan Stanley's Katie Huberty went bullish on Apple ahead of its earnings next week, kept her overweight rating on the stock today, raising her price target to $247 from $231. The stock's at $206 right now. On the other side, you've got Bernstein's Tony Sacconaghi, who remains more pessimistic than the rest of the street. He's only got a market perform rating, a price target of $190, guys, and that's a pretty big swing. Going into this report, he says services is decelerating. She says it's picking up.
And he also notes, Tony notes, that Q3 is typically a quarter that is neither here nor there. People are looking to the next cycle. But this one's going to matter so much because Apple has been so central in the trade war, right? What is happening to their China business? What's happening to iPhones and how much are they selling it? Are they creating an opening for other smartphone providers? I think that will be really interesting. And as much as we talk about services now all the time, is it enough to make up for declining iPhone sales? So these are, really existential questions for Apple.
And the App Store, I look at it from the App Store angle primarily as well. I mean, if they are found to be anti-competitive in those App Store 30% fees, for their services revenue, that's going to be a big headwind. But we'll see. No one's ruled it that way, I don't think, yet, but it does look like that's where, the courts may come down.
It'll be fascinating, even from a broader point of view, to see how the big tech companies either address or don't address all the antitrust concerns in this set of earnings.
Yeah, they don't want to do too good. Yeah. But speaking of Apple, really my favorite story today is that there's a brand new product about to hit stores, and it's the Cosmic Crisp apple in your produce aisle after this fall's harvest. Guys, no joke, this has been called the largest launch of a single produce item in American history.
I mean, it is a patent-protected apple. And guess who owns the patent? Washington State University, and they have agreed to only make this available to Washington State apple growers, which means that only one state gets the benefit of the Cosmic Crisp. In order to do this, they were planning on handing out 300,000 saplings. The growers demanded 4 million. It's coming to market this fall. And because we're talking about the apples, this is not the Cosmic Crisp.
I was going to say you don't have one.
But I thought in talking about it, it might make you hungry for it. And I'm like the evil stepmother. I'm
not taking a bite of that. I've seen this movie before.
But what does it taste like? Is it a Honey Crisp, but better?
It's a cross between a Honey Crisp and an Enterprise. So what they said was Honey Crisp came on with a bang.
I love Honey Crisp.
But it was
my only apple to eat.
So good. Here's my question. We all just said we love Honey Crisp. How is it not the number one apple in America? I'm not touching your apples. I learned
that's going to be a meme.
I learned that Red Delicious was the number one apple for decades. I agree.
But here's mealy. Here's how it fell off.
To be surpassed by Gala, was it?
Yes, and then the food. By the way, I got you Fuji's, Galas, and of course my favorite,
Fuji.
which are
your favorite is the
Granny
sour
Smith.
Granny Smith.
It matches me. I'm